Welcome back, everyone. If you've been following the world of K-pop or just the drama surrounding NewJeans, then you know that there's been a massive legal battle unfolding between the group and their agency, Ador, a subsidiary of HYBE. The April 3, 2025 court hearing was a critical moment in this ongoing dispute. And if you're wondering how it all went down, I've got you covered. In this video, we're going to break it all down, from the background of the case to the arguments presented in court, the judge's observations, and the implications this entire situation has for the future of K-pop contracts. Let's get into it. First, let's rewind a bit and understand how we got here. This whole legal battle kicked off in 2024 when a corporate clash between HYBE and Min Hee-jin, the former CEO of Ador, started to spiral. Min Hee-jin had been an essential figure in NewJeans' creation and rise to fame, and when she was removed from her position as CEO in August 2024, the group's loyalty shifted towards her. In fact, they publicly supported Min during a September 2024 livestream, voicing their distrust in HYBE's management and asking for her reinstatement. That was a huge moment because it revealed the cracks in the relationship between the group and their agency. Things escalated even further when, on November 28, 2024, NewJeans held an emergency press conference. The group announced they were terminating their exclusive contracts with Ador, citing broken trust and mistreatment. They claimed that Ador, in collaboration with HYBE, had failed to protect them and accused the agency of manipulation, miscommunication, and harassment. Of course, Ador didn't just let this slide. They immediately filed a lawsuit in December 2024, seeking to affirm that the contracts signed by the members back in April 2022 were still valid. As the months passed, NewJeans rebranded themselves as NJZ in February 2025, starting to pursue independent activities. But Ador wasn't having it. The agency filed injunctions in January and February 2025 to prevent Ador from carrying out independent activities. The court granted one of these injunctions on March 21, 2025, preventing NJZ from performing independently or signing new contracts. This ruling led to NJZ having to perform under Ador's management at ComplexCon in March 2025. On April 3, 2025, the case went to court, and this was the first official hearing concerning the validity of NewJeans' contract termination. Let's talk about what happened during the hearing on April 3, 2025. The session took place at the Seoul Central District Court, in front of Judge Jung Ho-il, and it was a highly anticipated moment in the legal battle. However, unlike the previous injunction hearing on March 7, 2025, where all 5 members of NewJeans appeared to speak up and voice their grievances, this time, none of the NewJeans members showed up in person. Now, this isn't unusual in South Korean civil lawsuits, as plaintiffs and defendants don't always have to be physically present for these hearings. Legal representatives can stand in for them. So, who was in the courtroom? The legal teams representing both Ador and NewJeans. This hearing was strictly about legal arguments, and the emotional appeals that we saw in the previous hearing were absent. In the media, though, it was clear that this case was drawing massive attention. Fans of NewJeans, known as Team Bunnies, gathered outside the courthouse to show their support for the group as well. The hearing itself lasted just about 20 minutes, and it didn't bring us any closer to a resolution. The judge asked for both sides to submit additional evidence, which means that we're still a long way from any final ruling. The next hearing is scheduled for June 5, 2025, and in the meantime, the legal teams for both sides will likely continue to prepare for the next stage. Now, let's break down the main arguments presented by Ador's legal team. First off, Ador insists that NewJeans' unilateral contract termination is invalid. The contracts, signed in April 2022, are still in effect, and according to Ador, the group's claims of mistreatment don't meet the threshold needed for them to break those contracts under South Korean law. Their argument hinges on the fact that they've already invested significant resources into NewJeans' success, starting from November 2021, when Ador was established. HYBE acquired 100% ownership of Ador for 5.0 billion Korean won following its separation from Source Music. HYBE then made additional investments of 10.0 billion Korean won in 2021 and 6.0 billion Korean won in 2022. Ador highlighted these financial contributions to demonstrate HYBE's fulfillment of its responsibilities as NewJeans' management company. Notably, the production cost for NewJeans' debut album alone amounted to around 7.0 billion Korean won, a figure far exceeding the industry's average album production cost at the time. In total, nearly 30.0 billion Korean won was invested to support NewJeans' debut and early activities. Additionally, Ador emphasized that revenue settlements with the members have continued regularly, even after the group submitted their contract termination notice in November 2024. These payments include income from advertisements, events, and other salaries. Since October 2023 alone, over 12.0 billion Korean won has been distributed to the members, reinforcing Ador's claim that it has consistently upheld its financial obligations. They also pointed out that the success of NewJeans wasn't just the result of the members' talents alone, but also the work of over 50 staff members, including choreographers, stylists, and managers, all of whom contributed to the group's rise to fame. In a direct challenge to NewJeans' claims that the group cannot survive without Min Hee-jin, Ador's lawyers argued that Min's departure does not mean the group cannot continue. They pointed to the group's performance in Hong Kong in March 2025, which was managed entirely by Ador, as evidence that NewJeans could still function without her. They went so far as to say, "It makes no sense to say NewJeans cannot exist without her," trying to minimize Min Hee-jin's role in the group's identity. And when the judge asked about the possibility of a settlement, Ador's lawyer expressed willingness to negotiate, signaling that they might be open to resolving the dispute. Now, let's take a look at NewJeans' side. The group's legal team, representing them through the prestigious Shin and Kim law firm, focused heavily on the breakdown of trust between NewJeans and Ador. They argued that the actions taken by Ador and HYBE, particularly the firing of Min Hee-jin, fundamentally altered the agency's nature and management style, making it impossible for NewJeans to continue working under Ador's leadership. The key point that NewJeans' lawyer emphasized was that the group had lost all trust in Ador after Min Hee-jin's removal. NewJeans argued that, with the leadership change and the shift in direction under HYBE's control, the agency was no longer the same company it had been when they first signed their contracts. This was a major argument in their case. NewJeans claimed that the agency had changed so drastically that it no longer aligned with their values, making it impossible for them to continue working under Ador. As for Min Hee-jin's departure, NJZ's team argued that it wasn't voluntary as Ador suggested, but rather a forced removal. Despite this, NJZ claimed that even after Min's departure, Ador and HYBE failed to provide any viable alternatives for the group, leaving them feeling unsupported and directionless for months. They stated that Min's role was integral to the group's success and identity, and without her, the agency's direction felt incoherent and unstable. Back to Ador's argument, this is where things got especially contentious. After NewJeans laid out their grievances surrounding trust, mismanagement, and emotional distress, Ador pivoted the narrative to focus on structure, investment, and sustainability. One of their most notable counterpoints was the idea that NewJeans insisting they couldn't continue without Min Hee-jin was, in their words, simply unreasonable. Ador argued that the company, backed by HYBE's massive resources, had every means necessary to assign new, competent producers to the group. They didn't stop there. Ador made it clear that the K-pop industry, while fueled by creative vision, also runs on business infrastructure. The group wasn't built in isolation. They reminded the court that HYBE had invested billions of won and employed dozens of professionals to develop NewJeans into what they are today. So to them, the idea that the entire system should collapse just because Min was no longer at the helm didn't hold water. Their attorneys framed NewJeans' stance as both unrealistic and risky, not just for Ador, but for the entire precedent it might set in the entertainment industry. If every artist could walk away from a binding contract simply because a key staff member left, what would stop others from doing the same? Finally, when it came to the question of settlement, NewJeans' lawyer made it clear that the group was not in a mental state to consider any such offer. The emotional toll of this conflict was apparent, and their legal team insisted that NewJeans could not return to Ador under the current circumstances, regardless of potential negotiations. At the conclusion of the initial hearing, the judge acknowledged the case's uniqueness. He noted that while many idle contract disputes typically revolve around financial settlements, this particular case centers on the abstract concept of trust. He remarked, "I've seen many cases of idols wanting to terminate contracts because of settlement issues, but this is a special case. Isn't the breakdown of trust an abstract concept? I will have to think about how to take on this case because each person feels differently about trust." So there you have it, the April 3rd hearing, the arguments from both sides, and the key points we're all watching moving forward. Whatever the outcome, it will likely set a precedent for the future of K-pop contracts, artist rights, and the power dynamics between agencies and their stars.